Right, this is going to be another episode of Hot Take Point Made. And the thing is, when things get hot, you know what happens, don't you? You start to sweat. You get that pressure. It's like Kassad when I press him, like name the top 5 things for that thing that isn't top 5. The Pepe sweat, he has to start thinking, Wicadia, I don't know, snacks. He's just throwing names out there crazy because, he had his point, but he didn't get to that one. So here's the point of this, though. I'm going to make a point right now, which is thanks to Mando, who is going to be sponsoring this episode. Because, by the way, right now, new customers can get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. It's on the screen, HOTTAKE, HOTTAKE. And that equates to over 40% off the starter pack if you use it at ShopMando, easy to spell, ShopMando.com. So I'll now talk to you a little bit about Mando. It's actually a product me and Maui have used before. Even Kassad's got it. We sent it all the way out to him. It's something where I actually personally find I like the soap one for the shower. It's quite a manly scent for it. It's not one of those like fragrances like women enjoy, etc. I actually enjoy this one quite a lot. I also like the underarm cream one is quite good too. And the underarm roll one as well. It's like not really a roll. It's like a stick that you put under. I think the stick's actually one of my favourite ones. Kassad, which ones have you used? What do you like?
I'm not gonna lie to people here. The thing is, like, I got the whole package, right? All of the things included, like you said, the soap, the deodorant, whatever it's called, like, and then the stick thing. I have for travel this toiletries bag, right? That is separate for like when I have it home and when I have it for travel, right? And I put all of the things from there into my travel toiletry bag. The only one that I use regularly is the stick one. I don't know how it's like. Could you call it like you under the arm? Like yeah. I use that one on a regular basis. It's pretty good. Like it keeps you like because you sweat a lot, especially when you are a big dude.
Sure.
Like it's kind of a necessary to get that under control, right?
Yes.
And it's a good product to use. Other stuff, I would say you said the soap, right? I use it mostly because I have this like little soap plastic box. Right. That I put the soap in, and you can travel with it normally, right? So I use it for there because the hotel soaps are always like God knows what it is, And then the sad part about it is the fact that my team is not traveling all that much.
Yes,
so,
true. True that.
So I get to use it for a long time. So yeah.
Yes. What about you, Maui?
I just really like that. It doesn't make any marks on any of my clothes. I've been using it now for ever since we got it, and I wear a lot of white T-shirts and white tank tops and. There's no residue on the armpit area. And I also think that, like, I've gone to this, like, sometimes I'll go to bed I'll put it on before bed, and when I wake up, I don't smell bad at all. Like, I love that too. And it's like, I'm not getting, like, stains on my sheets or anything like that, because the ones that because Mando doesn't use aluminum, but other ones do, and I think that's one of the ingredients. Yes. I'm not a scientist on deodorant.
No, it's literally, it's aluminum free, it's baking soda free, it's dye free, all this jazz, vegan, whatever. Also, it was actually created by a doctor, apparently, who saw that people used to misdiagnose BO. Because if you don't know, it turns out BO is actually based on, like, a bacteria that goes under there that, like, eats the sweat or something, and that's what makes the smell, basically. It's not actually the sweat itself. Sweat is obviously a totally natural thing to happen. It's why actually certain other products maybe potentially have a negative effect on you with some of those chemicals. So anyway, shout out to Mando. They support us. We've actually got the product. We're using it ourselves. As I say, luckily, I have a discount code for you to get you hooked on my favourite smelling whole body deodorant on the market, which is, as I said, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with the exclusive code HOTTAKE, and that's basically 40% off a starter pack. So use HOTTAKE as the code to get some brilliant Mando products and support us. This is obviously our favourite show anyway, and it makes people sweat with how hot the takes are. So shop Mando, ShopMando.com. Shout out to Mando. So, okay, here's the question, boys. Right, bearing in mind, Kassad last episode did say something like, can someone even refresh me? Wasn't it something like, that Donk's not even like top 5 or something? What was the
take? Did you say Monacy's not been in the top 5 also or something?
Monacy can be in the conversation, right? The thing is, like,
in the conversation of top 5.
I know. Okay. Just MVP the whole event.
I was saying about a Donk that is like, right now not top 5. Keep saying the same thing. But you saw the screenshot, you saw the results of Spirit after that. Okay. Is it like fair what I said at that point now?
I don't think he's changed it personally, but
he's been worse. He's been worse. I'd still have him in my top 5, but he's been worse. Yeah.
Yes. The thing is, like, that's a fact. You see the results, you see the whole thing, like, in the event, and even though it's a banana cup and everything, like, still, like, people, like, putting him up top 3 this year, and HLTV posting that tweet, like, who is your, like, ranking for the top 3 this year? They didn't even put Nico on. Like, what the fuck was that? But, you know.
Yeah, true.
That's not, I mean, for me, it's just up there to comment about it. But the thing is, like, he has definitely slowed down. Yes, he had a pro league that was, like, by Duncan amazing, and he compared him to s1MPLE and all this shit. But still, I remain, like, loyal to my point that at this moment, Donk is not there.
Okay. I do like, though, that a rookie player, first ever year he's ever played, he's like whack because he had an event where he just did a 1.18 rating and got 0.78 KDR. So, you know, step it up, kid. Step it the fuck up. It's not going to do it. It's not good enough. Yeah. I agree Nico was better at the event, obviously.
Wow. Oh,
I mean, good. Like, yeah, it's just...
By the way, this technically wasn't a take. We're just replying to an all take it. So let's start with the takes. Yeah, who has a take to start?
Okay, well, I have one that's incredibly self-indulgent for this show.
Well, incredible. Why change the habit of a lifetime? Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. True. Okay. All right. I've been saving this one for a while, but I'm just like, come on, whatever. I'm just so ready for it. It's
like pimp deserves to die. Like, what is this take? What is it called?
No. This show by far is the best Counter-Strike podcast with no guests, period. Like, it is just the best show. Okay. Like, the other shows that exist in this realm right now that would be competitors to it would be Talking Counter, when it's just Chad, Yanko, and Moses. And also, obviously, HLTV confirmed with Chad, Striker, and Prof.
Like, I mean, I would have also suggested there was another... Look, HLTV confirmed sometimes as guests. There was another really good one on this network, I thought, but obviously we don't talk about that anymore. So, you're right, Mo. You're actually right now. Hot take point made in many ways. It's the best Counter-Strike show without a guest on this network. So, keep talking. Keep going.
No, just of those 3, like, in terms of similar viewership shows, those are definitely the ones that would be in contention. But no, in terms of just like creating narratives that have constantly
the cultural impact's crazy.
The cultural impact is insane of the show. Like, people are constantly reiterating things that we're saying in so many different contexts, bringing them to desks.
One day there will be a T-shirt of Kassad saying, with that big beard, going, "Are you insane?" I just know it's going to happen one day. That merch will exist one day, definitely.
Yeah, we need to be making Last Free Nation merch by now, for real. Yeah. Like, there's no reason we shouldn't have done this by now. No, I'm just saying that right now, this is easily the best Counter-Strike talk show that doesn't have, not including guest shows.
It's the way he's actually done a hot take. That hot take point made is the best show. It's like, what do you think, Kassad?
I told you.
Permanent co-host of the show Hot Take Point. What do you think of that? Is it insane? What do you think? Come on.
I wouldn't say it's a hot take to say that, though.
Okay. Well, I know what you mean, Kassad. I think people say they hate, but they sort of love to hate it, if you know, because you see the viewership's mad every time. There's a million comments. They sort of clearly tune in, don't they? You know, it's some Stephen A. Smith shit, isn't it?
It's getting the clicks, it's getting the views. People are like, they wait for the show to happen.
Of course.
It's not like, another show is out. Yeah, that's cool. Let's watch it. They're actually wondering when the next show is going to be.
Yes.
Right? And that's a normal thing. Messages are coming every day. But the thing is, like, what's different, I feel like, and what's unique when you compare it to the other shows, like Talking Counter and HLTV Confirmed, mainly, I guess, the only kind of competitors to us in this case, is because we have this, like, you know, hobby, make hot takes and then we respond to it. Like, we don't sit around and following the current news and talk about the current situations all that much, at least in the same way the other 2 shows are doing, right? We don't have guests. That doesn't mean we won't have them. But right now we don't. And, you know, we are not, like, engaging in this kind of talking show where we say, like, oh, this guy transferred to this team and how is that going to be good or bad. We're just, like, creating these crazy scenarios that people are actually thinking, but they hear us talking about it and then it makes it interesting for them, right? So it's just, I could agree with Maui on that one, but I wouldn't say it's a hot take. It's just, I guess, Masala house butter chicken hot.
It's not that hot then, is it? By that logic, I don't know, is it?
It's not that hot.
Only Germans would think that was hot, I know.
Masala house in Katowice butter chicken thing,
Okay. By the way, if you don't know the joke there, it also specifically if it's in like Poland or Germany, it's just not going to be that spicy. That's the whole point as well, because they're not big fans of spice there. By the way, I've got a bunch of angles on this because I obviously created this concept. I will say, one day, you know what? I might even ask the permission of the person. One day I'll reveal who the person who was going to be the other third person was before we got kassad. But the joke is it worked out way better, actually, that we got kassad in that particular sense. Because even though that person, actually, it was part of the reason I designed the show, they could have been amazing. But I also feel like they would have gotten sick of just getting wrecked by comments all the time. Whereas that's kassad's life, isn't it? He's like, you merely adopted getting wrecked on Twitter. I was born in it. I bleed for it every day. Every fucking day of his life. He's just tanking the aggro the whole time. He basically, kassad's like the greatest peel tank in MOBA history. You know what I mean? He's not even playing a fucking MOBA. He's just there and I'm behind. And that's the maddest thing of all, by the way, is that what's crazy about the dynamic of this show, and I actually think this is also why it works. I've got a whole bunch of things for you here, boys, is I did a show once in League of Legends. It was called Listen Loco, because it was a quite popular Korean, he had really good, because he lived in America, he had really good English, Korean player who had really crazy takes himself, and because he was a pro, but he also had he didn't care about stats and stuff, he just took his takes from other pros and stuff. And the problem was, normally on my shows, I'm the one who people he talks too much, he thinks he's funny, his points are shit, he doesn't know about the game. But because all the fans hated him way more than me, and were banging on him all the time, it made it so I became the lovable one. I became the one that people watch the show for. I always thought I would talk more, not that fucking local guy. Well, on every other show, everyone's fucking abusing me again. So, shut the fuck up, Thorin. Whereas, on this show, if you think about it, we've got Maui, who's become the new pimp in many ways. He's just getting all that abuse for every single take he has. Kassad, obviously, just 24/7. He always has a take that people are just like, he's a fucking fraud. This is why Blink loses. Which is okay, a bit unreasonable. So what's mad is in the end, I end up sort of coming out fairly good. Not bad, okay. I seem like the reasonable one. I even think that's part of the rapport. Obviously, we couldn't know it, but the dynamic of Maui thinking up creatively, what would be a crazy hot take that I could exaggerate? And then kassad going, memory wipe Men in Black style, the concept of hot takes. Are you out of your mind? That's not a totally accurate, predictable thing to happen. What are you talking about, you moron? And I'm like that. Somehow that rapport just works. Also, by the way, if you didn't know, this also, he doesn't do that as a coach, I hope, but I will say not everyone could take that. Some people might get offended or, take it personally, but now he's a good sport. He's rolling with the punches. It's all good. Then I have one last detail, which is, I actually also think, like kassad said, the real secret to this show is the other shows get dominated by what happened in the news and what happened that week and what happened at the last game of the... So if there's nothing, it's a boring week, isn't it? Or it's shit topics, or they think they have to talk about... We can not only talk about any topic we want, but also we bring up historical topics. We do shit we could do a CSGO topic stuff if we wanted, if it was somehow relevant in somewhere. By the way, you think when s1mple comes back, we won't feed in some ridiculous... He'll have his 8th year that he's... we'll do all sorts of shit that will come back at that point in time. So I also think there's a lot going on in this show. But luckily, to a moron, he goes, all you do is just talk shit about other people when none of you know the game. Unlike me, loads of matchmaking. Face it, level 4. I'm going to get to 5 one day. Give me a break. That's the one thing Richard always points out, These people are like, he has no game. How the fuck would you know? Bro, we're supposed to believe a guy sat at home's blade level. Shut the fuck up. You're just a guy on Reddit. You moron. That's mental in it, I know. So much. Anyway, I agree with your hot take. So as a result, here's the thing. It's a good hot take for the fans, you have to admit, because they would hate on it, but it's just 3 guys talking shit. Here's what they'd say. My bad. Let me just get in the Zoomer mode. Yeah, okay, I'm right. I'm in the zone. Right, they'd go, it's just 3 boomers yapping, and then when they're yapping about nothing, just fucking, don't even know what they're talking. Yeah, just glazing people or hating on people. They don't even know about the game. They don't know shit. They probably can't even build in Fortnite. Look how old they are. There you go.
They can't crank 90s.
Yeah, exactly.
That's you forgot to check the paycheck stealers.
Of course.
Old middle-aged white men, all these things, that are there.
Obsessed with them. Yeah, Game of Doc shout out again. R.I.P. now, of course.
You gotta throw in Hawk to
somewhere.
By the way, I know people have said this before, but if anyone hasn't heard it, the one flaw with that concept that makes it not funny anymore is you haven't thought it through, guys. That actually, because she was drunk, she didn't really think that through. right, if you do a that's spitting the actual phlegm. Like, ladies, I don't want to explain how to suck dick, but again, the audience would tell you I'm maybe the best ever at it. Insert devices for, I don't know, you know all the jokes that write themselves, but don't actually bring spit and phlegm up backwards and spit it out. Just use saliva from the mouth. Don't hawk to her, just to her. Don't hawk, just to her. By the way, maybe make that the title. Don't hawk, just to her. Like, and also, people
to a point made.
Yep, I saw that one. By the way, Richard pointed that out in the thread about Elise S1MPLE Masters. Someone did try to join in the meme, like some sad little zoomer, and he put hawk to a point made. But because it's such a shit meme that's run out, it got mega downvoted, like -50 or something mad. Like, yeah. So even worse, he was trying to join the meme and he just got banged on for it completely. I know.
I ban anybody that writes that in my Twitch chat now for just a timeout.
No, that's a good one. Right, okay.
Can't be.
Kassad, what is your first take?
Wow. I was wondering where to go first. I think I'm going to go mildly. And I'm going to say that currently in this world of Counter-Strike of ours, I don't know if it's correct to say anymore. I don't even know what the fuck is going on with political statements or whatever.
I'm scared already. Right, get the button ready. We can edit this. Go on.
The kill switch instant. No, the thing is like the CIS region. Is that the correct thing to say?
It used to be. Obviously now they claim Ukraine isn't part of it anymore or something like that.
Eastern Europe.
But let's face it, we all used it as a general concept for Russia, Eastern Europe. Yes, Eastern Europe. Sorry,
yes, Eastern Europe is still Poland and stuff. I'm not really counting Poland.
Sure.
I mean, it depends who you ask, I guess. It's like, you know, the thing is like TIS, I'm going to stick with that, is destroying the same amount of talent they're producing right now.
Okay. Where are you going with this one?
The thing is like, you know how in the last few years, like so many TIS, right, players popped out very quickly, starting from Aleksandar, Fleet, Fame, Donk, Shiro, Monesi, all this bunch of other kids, right? They just popped up, and let me tell you that right now, these players are just a fragment of how many talented kids are in that region right now. But sadly, they are getting locked into these contracts, into this academy.
I mean, the buyouts are crazy, aren't they?
With the buyouts, even like I'm not going to go too deep into details because I haven't confirmed much of these things, but the things that I know is that they are like locked into those contracts for multiple years with minimum salary and maximum buyouts, like enormous buyouts. So all these kids that are supposed to be the next Donk, the next Shiro, the next this and that, Fame, Philip, James, whatever, right? Are being locked into their teams, and the teams that are there are connected to each other. Like they are like because they have the parent company or the betting company above them, and they're like all connected, and everybody knows that. Like there is proofs of that. Like that they are connected to each other, and obviously there are 2-3 different currents in a way, and they don't kind of end up selling. They don't want to end up selling players to each other because they keep to their own, right? There is like 2-3 teams here, 2-3 teams there, 2-3 teams there on the third side, and everybody has their own kind of sponsor on the big company that's above them, and they're all keeping those players locked. And when you go and ask for the player that you think is talented, and you want to buy them, you get a enormous amount of buyout. Right? They tell you, like, let's say $100,000. So you go back and it's like, what the fuck should I do? Like, is this kid really good? So you go back and say, like, listen, I'll give you the 100,000. And they go, oh, sorry, we re-evaluated and it's 175 now. Basically, they're saying the random numbers, so you cannot pay, you don't want to pay, there is no more sense to pay, so they can keep them. And at the end, they do nothing with them. Their momentum goes by and they just get stuck and just end up being nowhere, right? And I think that even though that region has a lot of talent right now, a lot of talent right now in these academy teams, in these like lower teams like IGL'S and IGL'S and Spirit Academy and like all these like smaller teams, what you would call right now, they are being locked into these contracts where they cannot get out of because somebody is controlling that and they don't want to see them. So in that way, they are destroying a bunch of these young talents who could be potentially next donks and all these high tier players that can reach like tier 1 level. Now, some of them will get out, some of them won't, because like you cannot have two donks in Spirit, right? That would not make any sense. You cannot have two Shiros in like one team. It just doesn't make sense. So right now they're doing the same amount of damage as they're like delivering, promising kids and talented kids into these teams. So, and I know a bunch of these things, and like we are trying to like get these things out, and it's very frustrating when you see that you cannot get to a player, not just, let's say, just forget about my team, but like, let's say more serious teams, like they want to get a talented player, like serious organizations, like, let's say Ants or OG or somebody like that, they are just like impossible to get because they get such a high buyout that it makes no sense. Remember Monesi and his buyout, 600 fucking thousand. How much did NIP paid for Hat-Trick? Remember that?
I think it was like half as much, yeah. 3K.
Yes,
maybe.
three, and they send him back to bait. Now they got Wrinkle. They paid God knows much for that. How much Liquid paid for Yekindar? Like all these like transfers are enormously, ridiculously bad. And they're fucking up the market, they're fucking up the young players, and you can't do anything about it because we don't have any regulatory body, we don't have any responsibility, we don't have any salary caps. We don't have any buyout or financial fair play in our esports, so it's just fucking crazy right now. Bottom line is like, but CS is not the only one. You see what, like, for example, Astralis did to this kid, bro. Like with this, like, getting this post out, and then I love that his agent came out and said it, and said like, listen, he's not sick at all. He's fine. He can play. Like that triggered an avalanche of shit, and now you saw today that the Astralis CEO stepped down, whatever, right? So the thing is, like, there is a bunch of stuff that kind of is preventing these young players to kind of explode a little bit faster and be more, like, open and be more like kind of into these tier 1 teams, tier 2 teams, for example, as well. I'm not gonna mention there's a ridiculous price for Heavy God, but he went to, when he was supposed to go from OG to Cloud9, and then even before that from Endpoint to OG, it's just ridiculous. So yeah, that's my whole take.
I mean, I feel like the name that I just instantly conjure up when you talk about this is Kyosuke. It's not really like, I don't know if it's, I mean, it's more like you're breaking some news here as opposed to like it being a hot take. So I'm not really judging it in that sense. I'm just thinking about the fact that it would be really cool to see a Kyosuke on like an Aurora, and I don't know the behind the scenes as to why that's not happening. I feel like there's obviously, like, we praise these kind of orgs for creating academies, players too, but if they have predatory contracts, then I can't really be on board with it. Like, it's cool, and I would like to give credit to the organization for being probably a bit more profitable and a bit more savvy in the space for picking and finding these guys as soon as they possibly can, but I don't like the aspect of it that they're going to practically shackle these kids to just stay playing for their academy teams, when at this point, having seen Spirit Academy just a little bit, and I mean, just glancing at the numbers for Kyosuke, like, the dude, I mean, in terms of mechanics, like, this guy's he's so quick, he's so fast. Like, I watched him play a FaZe game against Nico and Monesi recently, and he like dumpstered him. He actually was destroying Nico and Monesi in the server. And sure, it's Face It, but it's like, that's not anybody could load up with a rifle and do that versus two of the best 5 players in the world. So
yeah,
I'm pretty sold on him. And also watching him play against other tier 2 opposition, it's just like, his crosshair correction is incredible. His crosshair placement is fantastic. I don't know if his decision making is always the best every single time. I haven't seen him tested against better opposition as regularly, but for him to not be on a team that's at least in the top 20, I feel like that's in some ways how the scene has regressed a little bit. Yeah, we have all these contract salaries that allow people to keep with the game. They don't fall out too early because they know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and they probably are even getting paid as it is right now. But for them to not reach their full potential, that's one way where it just takes longer now, and that it's the double-edged sword of this whole issue.
Okay.
Yeah, the thing is, like, before Duncan replies, like, there's like this currents of like betting companies that are like, behind several of these teams. You have like 1xBet, and then Party Match, and then, whatever, GG Bet. I don't even know what's going on with how many of them, but they're like multiple teams everywhere, and they're like kind of hitting against each other and nobody wants to sell anybody to anyone, especially not to the West European organizations that are kind of offering fair deals. They're not lowballing them. But some of them will lowball you, but at the end of the day, they will offer you a fair deal for the market value of the player. And you can also loan him. There's also options that you can just send the player to explode, and there is like deals to be made very easily, but they're not even exploring that. Like, what is this? You said Kiyosuke, right? Like, I call him like that, I guess. I don't know which pronounces.
I've never heard him pronounce his own name, so I don't know.
It doesn't really matter. The bottom line is, like, what's he going to be in Spirit Academy, and just, like, what's going to happen? Like, next year he's going to be there, and then he's going to replace who? Where's he going to go? Like, you cannot play Dong with Dong because they're playing the same, you know.
I love the people, the fans who are noobs who go, gonna have Kiyosuke and Duncan the same team. No, in the same way as you were never gonna have Mauisnake and S1MPLE in the same team, you idiot. Of course not.
Yes,
of course not.
Just not gonna work.
No.
Like,
no
it's
point.
just terrible. And then where is he gonna go? Like, send him out to a loan. Like, you see these like Bayern Munich, Manchester City, like all these, like Liverpool, Real Madrid, Barcelona, buying these young kids and send them out for a couple of seasons. Like, you make some sort of a deal that will work for everyone. I'm sure, like, these orgs, like OG, ENCE, like I mentioned, like this like not tier 1 organizations will accept that because it will elevate their financial status, because qualifying for the major with those players, even loadout players, will boost their financial status, even if you have to return the player in the next after 2 years by some fucking deal that you made. Like, it's not the biggest deal, and your player will develop under better leadership in that org, because he will play the more quality teams, and he had a better coach and had a better staff around him, and then play more stronger matches. It's better to develop like that than keep him in the academy team forever and then sell him like, you know, the one other example was that Magnoyes kid, right? He was all right.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be the next Donk as well, and then they kept him a little bit too long. Now he's in Bad Boom, and then he's like okay, but he's not fulfilled like his kind of potential. Let's say it like that. Sorry, Duncan, you can go.
It's all good. Here's the thing. I'll run down a list of names because I actually think it's... First of all, I agree with the buyout thing. The buyout thing is wrecking it because, as Maui said, in the old CS scene without huge buyouts, you wouldn't still be on an academy team or on the low team or on the bench. What you would do is you would already go... If you can't get in the main team, you would go to the second, third, fourth... You'd keep going down the ladder until you got to that next team. If it was in the Danish scene, the Russian scene, the Swedish scene, you'd already be playing as the point. The point is you'd already see all these players we're talking about playing against you in the lower competitions, and then eventually getting up, and there used to be a ladder. You moved up if you were good. Now you move up if, like, you can make a deal, if someone's willing to pay this crazy buyout, if someone has the vision. By the way, that's the stupidest thing about the buyouts. Most people don't even have the eye test in Counter-Strike to really know if you're actually going to be that good based on limited sample size against low-level competition. They're just gambling off hype, or they've been told. Also, I've heard it looks like, if you look at interviews, because I think Na'Vi even once said something weird, like that they had great relationships with all these different orgs out there. It even is implied there's almost like some fucking cartel. Like, if you're just some outside org, like, spoiler, I'll bet when Team Liquid comes in and they go, can I have Patsy? They go, yeah, sure. Add 100k onto that number for them. Because they're thinking, Team Liquid, bloody stupid Americans with all the money. Real them. Whereas if you go, maybe if you already have a connection with them, because remember, within their scene, maybe I'm going to one day sell a player to you, so we make a deal, you know, and you can make it reasonable because we know each other and, you know, we're friends, all that jazz. It just smells so bad if you're a player, because if you're a player, you have no agency in this regard. Like, the worst thing about the big buyout is this. I've made this point about the Brazilian team, so I'll make it about the CIS one. It's not like they do it logically. They don't do it like, right, it's 300k, because if you don't pay 300k, he's going to pay 275. It's usually one buyer. It's like, it's 300k for you, Kassad. And you go, oh, 300k is too much. And they go, lol, I'm just keeping him then. So not only do I not get the 300k, and if I'm a small org, by the way, 300k is everything. I could bankroll the whole fucking team for a year off that. I could get the next really good players and bring them up like you're supposed to. Also, when I don't do that, not only do I get to keep this super talent, but I'm in tier 2 anyway. I'm in tier 3 anyway. I'm never winning I'm not even getting to Cologne with this guy. So the stupid thing is, it doesn't actually help the org that much when you don't sell. You're just being greedy, like Kassad said, and essentially playing like a game of chicken. Like, will you dare to just pay the money for no reason? If you do, he might be good, he might be bad, and I'll get loads of money. It's just too greedy. It's not good business either. It's just not good business for anyone. It's not good for the player. It's not good for the org. It's not good for the org trying to buy him. I'm not saying you have to sell, but I'm saying you have to sell at like a reasonable amount. Like, you can put it a little bit above market value, but there's no point saying like, 500k or nothing. Like, that's not business, mate. Business doesn't work that way. There's even a saying in business that goes, good business deals require each person to give something up that you both get what you want. That's a great way to think about it.
And I'll give you an example how compare football to this. You don't have to sell him, whoever you are, the Russian, Ukrainian organization, doesn't matter. You don't have to sell the player, send him for a loan for 12 months. Let's say this Kiyosuke Donk thing. Like, you don't need the Kiyosuke for Donk for the next year at least.
Also, kassad, you can always put it in the contract. If he makes the major, then I get this much extra, or it costs more.
Yes,
you can also structure it. I was
going to compare it with football, right? Let's say like 12 years, you send these Kiyosuke kids to whatever, Liquid, doesn't matter, like whoever, right? And say that it can be a little bit smaller organization, right? Somebody towards like, I don't know, Mouse.
I'll give you an example. Supposedly, people say that is what was done with Shuhei in Mouse to Gamer Legion. That they had a buyback clause that they can bring him back. Yeah.
It was. And you know what happens? You send that player for 12 months. 12 months. You agree, personal terms, whatever, right? And then he gets to a major, they get the sticker money, they get to another major, they get the sticker money, it goes to the organization gets loaded, and now it's time to send him back. Yes, it sucks, but that's the deal you made, and it kind of helped your organization to stay above water, right? So to not sink down and fucking die. Because take an example of Premier League. You have, let's say, Southampton, right? As a football club that just got promoted back into Premier League. Now maybe they don't have the money to buy Premier League level players, right? But they have money to kind of invest in loaning some of the players that maybe City doesn't want that season, that maybe Liverpool, that maybe Newcastle, that somebody doesn't want that season. You get them, you work with them through that season, they secure you so you can stay in the Premier League for the next season, so you get an additional £100 million. For up the TV rights from the fucking whatever, like sponsorships and all these things that you get back, and then you send those players back, but you have the money to buy some different players, and in a smaller organization, this is where you get. And on the organization that loaned that player, they get a fully developed player who is already played the Premier League season, who already knows how to play against defenders in the Premier League. If you compare, he knows like in CS, then he will know how to play against G2, how to play fucking big teams, and he's not going to be scared because he already played those big events or big-ish events, and then he's going to go back to your team if you need him. If you don't need him and then Donk becomes a fucking whatever, one of a kind, then you just sell him. Sell him. And then you get a lot more money as well. It's just the way that business should be done, but they're not doing it right now. I'll give you my example. We sent Nok on loan to Fnatic for 6 months. You know, because he couldn't deliver here. There was like no room for him here. It was like, so I don't get into like specific reasons. But what could I have done? I could have said like, listen, I'm just gonna keep you on the bench. Like maybe I use you, maybe I don't use you. But instead, I could just loan him to Fnatic that he can excel a little bit more than he excelled with us and perform a little bit more. They get to the major, you know, they get the sticker money, they improve their team, they tell us, hey, listen, we want to buy this kid. I say, listen, that's how much money I want him, or I just take him back. And then, you know, everybody's happy. I got him off the books for those 6 months, so I don't have to pay the bench salary or any kind of salary, and everything is happy. Everybody's happy. And he's playing Counter-Strike. He's not sitting on the bench holding his cock, just doing nothing. He's playing Counter-Strike instead of sitting on a bench. And he's going to be playing on a decent level. They have the RMR, they have whatever, right? So the same went for Hampus, or like, I'm trying to set some sort of an example of these transfers and how deals should be made. Sometimes you will have to take a step back and take a little bit of a hit, take a little bit of a risk, but it should be, at the end of the day, it should be the way it's done. Simply, like you said it, that both sides get kind of what they want. The deal is not made unless, you know, both sides are happy. And both sides need to make a compromise. This way, like, it's going to work. The other way is going to be like, yeah, fuck you, I want $3 million for my player. Yeah, if you don't want to pay, fuck you, I'll just keep him on the... Not even thinking about the player at all. Not even thinking about the future of your org. Not even thinking about anything. You just set the fucking price, $300,000, and like, yeah, fuck you. If you don't want to pay, goodbye. And then when you decide to pay, they say, it's not 300 anymore, it's 400. But who does business like that? But
because I'll give you my list. The list is a mixture of players because there's two sides to this. The other side, and this is also something that will always happen. I've got a League of Legends example very quickly. Whenever you have a talent-rich scene, which is in League of Legends, what happened was once they made all these European regional leagues below LEC, what happened was they developed all these talents, and so when players would get to the top of those leagues, people would go, and obviously the buyout was way less than buying like a top player in the LEC. So people just got addicted to gambling. It was like a lottery ticket. Let's get this player here, and they would get them, and sometimes they didn't even get a whole year. They'd give them one split and then bench them immediately and go, right, bring back the like good but not top pro that can just be reliable because that didn't work out with that guy. Kick him out. And then what they did is they just kept gambling on this, and that had two effects. One, it means that you get incredibly cynical with the players. You just try a player. If he fails, that's it. You don't get a second chance because why would I try again with you when you failed? I can try with the guy who didn't fail yet. Let me take that guy and see if he can just magically be really good immediately, like a Donk or someone, which very few players are going to make it through that hoop, actually. Some players, we all know this. Some players take a team or two, or they have a failure for the first 6 months. By the way, the obvious example of Na'Vi would be, imagine if they had have cut Immer when we'd all told them to. Look, at the time, we were right to cut him. But I'll tell you what, if we could all go back in time and say we'd go, hold on that one. Maybe just hold. That's going to work out, actually, believe it or not. Let Blade cook. He's doing what he's doing. It's Blade. And it turns out that was the one time ever. That's why when people go, I knew he'd do that. You don't know Blade. Shut the fuck up, idiot. I've known him since like 2006 or something. Shut your fucking mouth. You're the person who, when he joined Na'Vi, said he's like washed and will never be able to call because he just calls like Flipside. You don't know shit about Blade. Little bro, you don't know him like that. Okay? So there you go. Did the fucking Zoomer thing again. Right. I'll run down a list of players. So you get two sets of players. They either are never able to get to the top because they're locked in these contracts, and nobody's going to pay 300, 400k for unknown people unless they're idiots like Nip. And then the other angle is you've got the people where they got their one chance at a big team, and then because they didn't make it, no one gives a fuck anymore. They'll never be allowed to be in the top team. Right, here's a list. How about Shalfie? On Froze, he looked fucking good. Zort, he looked pretty good. He's never been able to get to those top teams. He's tried a few times. Exa Power on Fours back in the day used to be the guy they forced the open hand every time. Patsy, where you all laughed when he was on Liquid, right? I still think that player looks like he could be a good player in the right system, in the right team. He's so fucking young. He looked really good on Spirit when he broke out. He was him and Dexter were the two people they found. Then they got wonderful. Like, they've had some legit players. Chiron, right? As far as I can tell, his main failure is he didn't fit instantly into fucking James' system. One, the most idiosyncratic system ever to be used in CS, probably. And two, most people don't fucking fit in that system. In fact, good players don't seem to fit in that system. That system might even be done in CS2. And then the last one is someone from Spirit. It's Art Frost. That guy had real potential when he was on that team. The joke is, I always said, in some ways it would have been fairer to Donk if they hadn't got Shiro. And it'd just been Donk, Zontix and Artfrost all came into the scene together as rookies now. No one would expect, they wouldn't win events, so no one would put this pressure on them. We'd all just be going, Donk's so fucking sick. Imagine next year when he's on a top team. Or imagine when they get a good... Then it would have made all the narratives so much more appropriate. In some ways, them winning Cologne, Katowice, even though this will sound mad because it's the best moment of their lives, was one of the biggest fucking, like, as we say in English, like albatrosses around your neck you could ever have. Like, that was one of the worst things that could happen to them. Now they're held to that standard as fucking rookies forevermore. They're supposed to just every tournament beat like Vitality's core, FaZe's core, Maus. These are fucking bonkers teams. What are we talking about? No one expected this from Maus when they first came along. No one treated any... We didn't even expect it from fucking Na'Vi. And Na'Vi's players have experience at majors already from CSGO, for fuck's sake. So no, I agree with you. I actually think the CIS scene and the Brazilian scene are the two most, at the moment, like, exploitative, abusive scenes where it's just the orgs. And it's not even the big ones. What's hilarious is you're used in CS the big org being the dickhead. No, it's the little guy being the dickhead. It's the guy who doesn't have the money. And the problem is, as Kassad's pointing out, it's because they're just greedy for the money. Their whole thing's sort of like, because it's like, you can fuck or walk. If you pay them the money, lol, I have a player that's never even played tier 1. I just got 300k for him. That doesn't even make sense.
Crazy, right? You mentioned Patsy. Patsy is a perfect example. Now people are talking shit, Patsy this, Patsy that. Look at his rating last 3 months, 120. 120 rating in the last 3 months. For Patsy. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody's looking through his games. Nobody's looking through his mechanics, his decision making. They're just like, oh yeah, whatever, the team party vision, that shit. Like Patsy is a bust. He's washed. He's whatever.
Yes.
Look at his ratings. Take a look at his demos. See if he's good. Artfrost is another example. Artfrost was solid, like a solid op. Like maybe he doesn't play well in this team. If you want to compare these bigger names or bigger orgs, look at Alexi for fuck's sake. Like from Ants where he performed well, went to OG where he was like bleh. And then he went to G2, that was a disaster, right? And everybody, oh yeah, it's Alexi, he's shit. He is a fraud alert, Alexi shit. And then he goes to NIP, again, nothing. Alexi shit. He's had like fucking whatever, this player, that player. He is S, and then he goes to Navi, where he has players that are suiting him and the organization that is probably, solid. Let's say Navi is solid. And look what happened in a space of 1 year. Like, and nobody's saying Alexi shit now. Where did that people went?
Oh, by the way,
all of a
that
sudden,
take,
nobody's talking shit now.
That take,
like that's what
he doesn't have a tier 1 trophy. Tell you what, how's that looking right now, boys? How's that fucking looking? Right, I'm gonna go.
One trick pony. Yeah, it was Ants. It was this. After Ants, he couldn't do shit. Where are you now? Like, you can maybe hate him. I don't give a fuck. But where are those people now that they're talking shit? Nobody's saying that anymore. Everybody's, oh, Navi is so good now, and JL is this. No, it's fucking Blade, and it's Alexi. Alexi is the IGL. He controls whatever the fuck is going on. And where are you people now to say shit?
Right, here's the
same
thing.
will happen in multiple.
Y'all are just doing too many fucking lightweight takes. So I'm gonna go straight to my big ones. Okay, my big one. We're gonna go shout and get you ready. Buckle in. This is a Thorin brand spicy fucking. This is like full on chili ghost pepper shit, right? You know, Falcons, just low and simple. They're making the playoffs of the major. Yeah, that's right. They're not just making it to the major. They're making top 8 of the major, mate. In China, of all things. So all I'm saying is, here's the reasons why. Look, this is a hot take and a half, innit? Like, and only Thorin could do this take. The reason why they're making top 8 of the major goes like this. One, because believe it or not, I actually do think that because they're going to force Simple to be the AWP, I made a similar point on another show with Maui, I think that's actually way more likely to make him sink or swim. I actually think if you rifle, you can fuck around, you can bait, you can pad your stats, you can eco. If you make Simple AWP, he's either going to be fucking insane with the AWP, and I've heard him practicing in the FPL games, he's already getting good. He's going to either be bonkers, or he's just going to be average as fuck. So if he fails, he fails, but if he's good, he's going to be fucking good. And by the way, some Pius was good, but if Simple's really good with the AWP, that team will become immediately way better. They were already in loads of close games. They can win loads of these games. Look, it's a spicy as fuck take because I'm sort of relying on other people to rise with him and the team to sort of start to work. But I just believe in Simple in a way I don't believe in almost any other player ever. He has an insane mentality. By the way, to work at fixing mistakes. One thing I actually do think is true. Look, I do think he's full of shit when he says that he allows teammates to also say, hey, you did something wrong. No. But here's the thing. He's one of those people who actually does walk it like Michael Jordan, where he doesn't need you to tell him what's wrong because he knows what's wrong and he will fix it himself. He is so arrogant, he will fix it himself. Like, people don't get it. He doesn't just think he's like better than Ziwu and Duncan that. He believes he is from like all his hard work, his practice, playing against them, studying the game, living the game, breathing the game. By the way, guys, all those Ziwu fans, doesn't really seem that cool anymore that you thought he was so swagged out that he doesn't try and play that game that much. Doesn't seem cool when he has series where he just doesn't turn up anymore. That's only cool when you post the insane rating, you idiots. So Simple just does the insane grind that he'll get there. Then you've got the angle that, by the way, like I said about his ego, this guy's not going to allow himself to be shit. He can't go to this team and fail and come like fucking last at a major or not even make it through the RMR. He can't. Dude, this guy will kill people metaphorically, or he will die himself metaphorically if it doesn't happen. He will just go to the... I know what he's like. He's an extremist in that sense. Also, by the way, I think in CS2, he's going to be... It's actually a game where, you know, everyone goes, oh, the AWP isn't suited yet. Old school traditional AWPers aren't. You're shit out of luck with those smokes and those peaks and all that, Ferrari peaks and all that shit. But I'll tell you what, aggro AWPers like Simple, mate, the game's made for you. You're going to be fucking the shit on T-side. You're going to be going fucking balls deep on these motherfuckers that wait on some off angle, etc. So I think there you go. Let's just lead with a nice, big, juicy, hot take right out the gate. Simple and Falcons make the top 8 of a major. Come on, boys. Where are we going with this?
I'll let first Maui because he hasn't spoken for about 20 minutes now. But the thing is, like, I'll let you do it, but yeah,
I mean,
I'll have the answer for you. Don't worry.
This is just absurd. Looking at the form of the Falcons core beyond that, like, it does take it does like this isn't when s1mple was the best player in the world and he's playing with Edward and Zeus and he's just carrying them, putting them in his backpack and going as deep as he can to major playoffs. This is a Falcons team that is provably not good in a modern era that has so much parity, so many good teams. I feel like the chance that they make it to the major, I'd pin it at like 70% now, 75%. But to make it to the playoffs, like man, like 10%. Like there's gotta it basically has to be s1mple going absolutely nuclear. Like don't get me wrong, like I'm all here for the takes of s1mple next year when he's gonna give him 3 months under his belt, but the Shanghai Major is in under 3 months, okay? Like, I need 3 months of s1mple, and I think that he's going to be top 20. I'll take that. I'll take that. Top 20 player in 3... Like, if you almost just took a 3-month window in that last month, I think he might be that guy. But, man, like, the playoffs in this... We're in such a... We might be in the most competitive era for quite some time now. Like, looking at the top 6 teams, like... FaZe is number 6. Like, FaZe Clan. Like, that's insane right now. And this FaZe Clan's not bad either. They're just not in the tip-top form that they usually are in. And so for s1mple to carry this team, like, there's also just too many good operas right now that are going to... Even if s1mple clears a few of them, like, if he clears the Torzies and Wonderfuls of the world, Shiro, Brokey, and Monesi, right, and Zywoo are on such a high level right now that s1mple, in that short amount of time, getting to their level, I'm doubtful. I'm doubtful.
I think first of all that you lost your shit. That's the first thing.
That's the polite version of how you would say it. Okay, all right, all good.
The thing is, like, how can you even go there? Like that's beyond hot take. That's like, I don't know.
Is it? Kassad, you are right. It's essentially like religious belief. I just sort of believe in s1mple as like an avatar flagging in
There we go. I'm happy that you admit it. Because this take is not hot. It's just like fucking Vesuvius, hot lava, exploding kind of shit, right? It's just mental. Because when you look at the Falcons team right now, first of all, I'm going to counter that take with they're not going to even make the major past RMR.
Okay.
Just so you can have something, we can have something to go back and forth. But the thing is, like, if you look at their team right now, and the team that is obviously, I keep going back to this money thing and Falcons and whatever, that is paid so much money. If you get rid of s1mple, whose rating was 113 in the last 3 months with an impact of 112, which is more than okay, even though the HLTV will tell you it's okay on that little bar. But it's very good considering the opponents that he had.
Okay.
Madden is 106, Magisk is 108, Snappy is 0.91, that's Hooksy level rating, and then we have...
Yeah, but he's got his Monesi, it's all good. He's got the original Monesi.
I'll get to that, but he doesn't have Nico and Hunter. So the thing is, like, he has Dupree, who is rating 1-0, and then 103 his impact. So look at the teams they lost to, look at the teams they struggled. Even if s1mple comes back, like, what is the highest performance that s1mple can put out as s1mple after this break? And okay, he farmed, he's grinding, he's going to be practicing in the team environment, but he's not going to be playing events most likely as what I'm from what I saw in the schedule, right? So
the first event is I Am Rio, right? I believe it's I Am Rio.
Yes. Yeah, are they playing there? Maybe.
Yes.
So
it's it's ESL Challenge. It's the next ESL Challenge, I believe, is the first one. Sorry, I think it's that one.
So
not this one, the next one.
Whatever. So they have something, right?
Yeah.
What is the level that he needs to elevate himself and elevate others to, for them to get into the playoffs? Like, where does he need to let 170, 165 rating, 150? And then where does the other people need to go? To 120? What is it? Like, Madden goes 120, Magisk goes 120. Because Snappy has been underperforming. Dupree has been underperforming massively. Even though that statement when they got it was pretty fucking weird. Let's keep going back to that. Then we have, obviously, Magisk, who has not yet adapted to what's dynamic of CS2 right now. In CSGO, he was a fucking god tier player. Like, full on, like, unstoppable. And then right now he has not adapted to that. And then you have Snappy with, like, his struggles that he had in the past. whatever, 6 months, let's
Yeah,
say.
but he's about to
you're
call the
counting
best strat in the history of Counter-Strike, simple go kill.
Simple go kill.
It
Now the
fail.
question is, can Simple elevate that hard
Even
for
Boomic
you
could
to
call
get
that
to
one.
the top fucking 8 of a major, Duncan?
Yes.
I would kind of say there is a chance, but to get to the actual major in the first stage, that would be their like whatever. Maybe even the second stage if they get like a lucky draw. But if you look at the teams they should be facing to get to that like level is Navi, G2, Vitality, Spirit, Maus, FaZe. You know, it's just.
Shall I throw in another one that'll tilt you? Here's one other reason why also they will actually win some of these games, Kassad. Because the aura of the man. There you go, Zoomers. You like that fucking term? I'm on the train now. The aura.
Every single one.
When Simple's name's in the server, they all lie to you, bro. They all tell you, oh, they all get killed the same way with bullets, and I don't look at the names. You all look at the names. When those first 3 kills go on the obituaries, you don't want to run around that corner because you know you're about to be in Snipe to Die's Simple 2024 highlight video that's 1 hour long at the end of the year. You don't want to be in that. You go to the other side and try and get a fucking attrition kill. So when that Simple aura's there, then the other teams play differently, bro. Like it's like a laser pen, and he's the cat. They're the cats, and he's the laser pen. There you go. There's the analogy.
Yeah, the cat. He's gonna be eaten by like big dogs.
Oh.
But the thing is, I'll give you this one. How about this one?
Okay.
If they make it to top 8 of a major,
what are you gonna do?
For the next 5 shows,
Come on.
or 10 shows, let's say 5 shows, whatever. I'm gonna wear either a hat or a shirt that says Duncan is the greatest man alive. Thorin is the greatest man alive.
Yes.
You just tell me, like, you need a hat or you need a shirt or
I
whatever.
think I know. I don't want it to say. It should say greatest CS analyst
of all time.
Yeah.
Gold analyst.
I will say
something like that.
Just that photo alone on the internet will probably ruin all your credibility for the rest of all time. It's all good. I think it's a good bet. It's a good bet.
What do you mean?
All the haters will just take that picture of you with the thing saying Duncan is the best analyst of all time. They'll be, see, he's a fraud. He doesn't even know anything. He thinks Thorin's good.
I don't give a fuck.
Whereas he just got
lucky.
lucky.
Care less what they will say in the memes. More clicks, right? More fucking things. But the thing is, like, if that happens, I'll do that. Then you just tell me what things you had or the shirt or whatever. Because you are completely insane.
Okay. Let me just check the dates. Okay. The Shanghai Major begins November 30th. And then I think, if I had to guess, it's probably a couple of weeks in. So it ends on the 15th of December. So let's say around like the end of the first week or so of December, we're going to know that he did in fact make top 8. And then we'll start production of the t-shirt. Okay, so it's all good. So I'm getting the timeline. You know.
I don't even need anything in return. I'm just going to I'm just going to be like, you know, savoring that moment when they...
Listen, you got to give me credit. If I do it, it'll be one of the craziest calls. He hasn't even fucking played a game with the RPN CS.
I know.
It's a pretty good call. I did say I was coming with the big guns with the hot take, you know.
Yeah, it was pretty up there.
Okay, I got one. This is sacrilegious. This one is I feel like this is, again, like, I have a knack for just insulting CS royalty at this point. Like, you know, I've had my whole tirade against Taz and Snacks, and, you know, I've talked about phase changes, and I always hone in on one guy. And it's not like I'm necessarily talking him down. Like, Rain is an amazing player. He's proven his worth on this team over and over again. Still a very solid asset. But I think that one guy that's incredibly unlucky and could have had the career, and we could have revered him in the same light as Rain, is actually Rez. I feel like Rez is probably the unluckiest player in the last 4 years, and if he was on FaZe, we'd speak of Rez in the exact same vein that we do speak of Rain now. Like, Rez, to me, has been criminally underrated by the community for the last 4 years because people are equating NIP's lack of success with Rez's inability, which is just flat out untrue. And so the hot take is just that if you put Rez for Rain, this team is identical. This team is identical, and this team also, we would speak of Rez in a completely different sense entirely. And it's almost just a curse that Rez, but by virtue of the fact that he was born in Sweden, decided that he wanted to play for the legacy storied organization of NIP. But if he was just a great international player in Norway and he got onto a FaZe clan earlier on, we'd be talking about him like that. So even by the numbers, breaking this one down, looking at all these years, Rez in 2021 was playing against top 10 opposition at a higher rating than Rain. And when we're looking at like LAN top 30 for the last 3 years, they're practically inseparable. In 2024, they had the exact same rating with top 20 filter on LAN. In 2023, they had the exact same rating with LAN filter, top 20 ranking filter. And in 2022, Rain was 0.01 better than Rez. In the year that Rain won the MVP, at the Antwerp Major, Rez was just 0.01 rating beneath him with top 20 filter on LAN. Like, this is practically... And they play a couple overlapping positions, too. So I just feel like Rez is insanely unlucky.
How many maps in that 2021 against top 20? Did the
Rez
play?
Rez had more maps. Rez had more maps. He had like 20 more maps against top opposition than Rain did. Which I don't even know how that's possible.
On LAN.
Let me get it all up again. I wrote this down earlier, but yeah, he had more maps in 2021. In 2021, we were playing on LAN at that point.
In the last few months, yeah.
Yeah, last few months. Let me see.
I don't think he would have more LAN maps than Rain against top 20 in NIP than
in 2021.
Rain in FaZe.
Let me just check. Okay. 2021. Okay, well, top 10 91 maps for Rain or for Rez against top 10 opponents, 1.03 rating. Rain in 2021 had he had 75 and he had a 0.98 rating. So let me go LAN. I didn't put LAN though. Let me see.
Oh, okay.
LAN in 2021, Rain had a 1.00 rating with 27 maps. Rez had 36. He had 9 more maps and he had 0.03 higher than Rain.
0.03. So it's not much, right?
But yeah, okay. Yeah. It's okay. Better. It's better and it's more maps in 2021 for Rez.
It's better, but it's not significantly better. So basically, Duncan, you want to take this or should I first?
No, go for it.
Basically, Rez is the worst player in NIP, or the second worst.
Dude,
and you were
he has Maxter on his team. He has Isaac.
I mean, those are all role players. But the thing is, like, for his, like, I always even tell my players, like, listen, if I put you in the fucking impact spot, prime spot, you need to fucking deliver. Like, this is, like, fucking performance-based thing. Like, I'm not gonna put you in the performance, like, in the fucking impact, high position for you, and then you deliver nothing. If you deliver fucking on the prime position 103 and you tell me the fucking he is better than Rain, then you are mentally ill. Simple as that. Like, the thing is, like, Rez and
Rain has worse ratings in even better spots sometimes.
No, he doesn't have a better. He calls A on Mirage, for fuck's sake.
Okay,
as an anchor, as an entry, like crazy. Like, what are we talking about? The thing is, like, what I was going to tell you is that, like, you are talking like Rez signed in 2016 the 10-year contract, like, with fucking NIP. He didn't. He could have left multiple times to different teams, and he didn't. He decides to have a secure paycheck from NIP. He survived all the drama with Device, with fucking Campus, with Alexi, with God knows who else. He sit there, even when Getright was fucking playing in Oakland 2016. And he's still there in that team. So he didn't sign a 7-year-old contract, Maui. Nobody forced him to stay. He got multiple offers from different teams with higher salary and higher shit, and he decided to stay in the Swedish fucking national fucking whatever team. And then he ended up speaking English anyway, when they had Hattrick and Alex and whoever the fuck they had. So even after that, when the rebuild was going, he still decided to stay. So at the end of the day, he made his own bed. Right now, his value, his stock, is nothing. Is he good? I don't know. Campus has always been telling me how good he is. I don't know. I haven't really watched him. I haven't really paid attention too much. Besides what I see on the live games and shit like that. But to say that he's he would be better than Rain, he would perform better, is just crazy to me. Because he had all these chances and he didn't take them. So why the fuck would be feeling sorry for him? Or even mentioning him any kind of conversation about the high tier players, because Rain was the fucking MVP of a major. Rain is a Hall of Fame player, and you are comparing Rain to fucking Rez. Are you fucking serious? That is fucking mental to me.
It's a hot take, Sean. But listen, we don't want you to ever change. We want you to keep that same mentality. It makes the show. I know, but that's what makes the rapport work. So here's the problem. The problem is I do and I don't agree with Maui in this sense. Like, first of all, the way he made it too spicy is, one, he did make it sound like right now he could just go in and do that. And then secondly, he did also make it sound like that thing of like, if you just put him in FaZe, it's the same. It's like, I don't know about that. They did win a lot of tournaments. And as kassad said, Rain was the MVP of a motherfucking major, where in the finals, by the way, he just went, and if anyone knows these spots, they'll know what I'm talking about. He just went, oh, Electronic, do you play outside? Fuck your face, and just destroyed him. And Electronic at the time, by the way, was like a fucking mind-melting level of rifler outside or new. He was a god on both sides of the T side and CT side. Like, you couldn't fuck with him. It'd take like Prime Nico to fuck with him, basically. Here's the problem I have with the take, is I will say, bearing in mind Rez is the only like connecting factor to all those old NIP teams, where, as he says, there was Get Right and Forest, etc. Obviously, if you look, one of the things about NIP that is weird is they did almost every year, except this year in like 2020, they always used to have like the odd 1 or 2 runs, actually. So he has always been in lineups, no matter how dysfunctional, that have like a top 8, top 4 run at a big tournament, make top 8 of a major or something, get in a relevant tournament. So they would have runs. That implies to me he's got something to his game that isn't just non-existent. He wasn't just a talent in 2017 at IEM Auckland that we all joke about because fans overrate it. The problem I have is this, though, which is one, I agree with kassad. He did have a million times he could have left. He wasn't on some Zebu 5-year contract. He could have left and made his career better. So he sort of chose, presumably, I'm going to guess, because he wants to play with Swedish people typically, and he's maybe, I don't know, maybe he's even too loyal because they were the one that gave him the big break. Who the fuck knows what his psychology is? But I do think that he wasted his career in that sense. I think he could have been better. Like, one, you could obviously have put some way better nip lineups around him. Like, they did do a terrible job at GMing that team basically from the time they moved on from Forest and Get Right. Like, even when they had talents, they misused them, they put them in the wrong roles, or they had like 3 people doing one role, or what they would do is, this is the saddest thing, I'll one day do a video about Jonas Gundersson's signings, because here's what people don't get. They're actually, if you look at the whole period, sick. They're just never in the same fucking team. He signed like Brolan, Device. He had LXCP. Bro, he's actually building like a major winning roster. There's never 2 of them in the same fucking team at the same time, it feels like. And you never have the key piece. So when you have LXCB, you don't have the ARPA. When you have the ARPA, you don't have the Star Rifler. When you have the IGL, you don't have, you know what I mean? Like, you don't have Device. Like, the timing was terrible, and Rez had to sit there and obviously endure all of that. And that wasn't his fault. The problem I have with the take is this. You have to remember, Maui began in CS, I think he said around like, what didn't you say it was around like 2015, 2016 or something? Was it around that era he started watching?
Yeah.
Right,
yeah,
I will say
CS:GO,
this.
yeah.
People always forget young Rain. And that is the problem with any discussion about Rain, because Rain himself, as soon, in my opinion, as they made later versions of FaZe, just became the guy who was like, I'll sort of take the slack up, basically. I'll take that spot. I'll do this. Whereas if people don't know, if you actually want to go the other way is even spicier. When I actually remember young Rain from Kingwin, you remember, and G2 kassad, and then remember early FaZe, before they had Nico, he was the man. And then even the first year Nico was still cooking everyone. He basically, the joke is, Rain himself could have had an Nico-esque career potentially. If he had the ego to be like, I'm the fucking star player, I'm not playing with that player, and he was built around, and he was the main guy. Look, I can't say anyone would be Nico, he's that fucking insane, but Rain was really fucking good in those early years. I mean, if people forget, there's a famous concept where when FaZe used to play SK Gaming and Fallen in them, everyone remembers they could never win overpass, right? Because bloody Furge pushed on CT side. Rain was the other player who did that all the time too. He was the only other player in the world. The two of them were the only players ever on CT side that can just perma push fucking birthday party and long all the time. You know they're going to do it, and you can't do shit against them because they both have fucking bonkers rifle skills back then. They also have an AK to chop your head off immediately. They take a peek. They have such big balls. They don't give a fuck two of you are there. They're killing one, peeking back, killing the other one as well. They don't even do the shit when they kill one and pull back. They just keep press W and keep going and try and kill the whole team. He actually was at this level where I don't think people know he was simmering right below level of being like a true superstar player in the game. And then he just committed to being this role player, this all that. So I don't hate the angle. Like, I do think Rez could have been better. I think he was obviously clearly a very skilled player. I think he clearly, by the way, he can be a good fill player. He can do some of the things Rain does in the modern day, perhaps. But I don't think he ever could have hit the heights of like what Rain was capable at his absolute peak. Because I do think that's a player where it's just because he's from Norway and he couldn't have a domestic scene, that he couldn't just do the traditional path of like, I'm just the best player, man. And I'm just trying. I actually want to see me and Nico and Cold Zero. Can I go head to head with these guys? He had the talent to do it, in my opinion. He had very good. I said it on Snake and Banter. I still think when you watch Rain on a T side, man, he has some aim duels that don't even make sense. Some old boomers winning with a fucking AK. I want to tell him, like, pause. Bro, you're going against, like, you're, like, peeking into Shiro's orb. How you just headshot him instantly? It's like, he just has that crazy... It's actually what I always gave Apex credit for. Apex never got the memo that he was only good about 5 years ago as a rifler. He would peek in a fucking prime simple, like, he was going to shoot him, which not many players can do. To get over that, that's why I said the simple aura thing earlier. That does get in people's heads. That does make people know, I don't want to be the third one in getting dicked. Like, these guys don't care, so I think a little bit of it I agree with. I don't agree with it overall, though. I think it's a spicy take. It's a hot take.
The basis of the take is just simply like it is to actually work against the narrative. What Kassad said, that Rez is the worst player in NIP, which is its own hot take, by the way. I didn't let that. I didn't miss that one. Like, how could Rez be the dude? Rez is absolutely not the worst player on this team.
So fixated on these stupid things that you don't understand that, like, the players with the prime positions in the team, the players that never buy fucking utility in the pistols, they're always going second and playing off the informations. They're playing connectors in Mirage, that are playing boiler and all this shit that is not having the first contact or anything. They're gonna have better numbers than the other players in the team. Players like Maxter, Isak are gonna be the ones that are playing fucking, buying fucking utility and running in first and jumping in first. They're not going to deliver the same numbers as the player in the prime spot. That's why the player in the prime spot needs to deliver a fucking 120 rating, 125, 115, not measly fucking 103. And then you compare him with an entry like a fucking Rain. And I don't agree with Duncan too, but he says like he can be like Nico or Kozera or like this. No fucking way, because you put an AWP in Rain's hands and he couldn't shoot a fucking elephant in front of him. Because
mate, he's a rifler. He doesn't. I didn't even
he's
tell
a
him.
rifler,
Put that AWP down.
Nico is a rifler too, but he uses an AWP. But the bottom line is versatility is not the same like like Cold Zero had, like all these players had. But is he a Hall of Fame player? Absolutely. The guy was a major MVP, had all these titles, being in FaZe forever. Started the fucking party astronauts team in 2014 or whatever the fuck was it, going through all these iterations.
LGB and all that shit,
and there I have fucking Maui comparing him to Red.
By the way, he also, if people don't know, I'm also trying to make the point also, Rain actually could have had even more, he could have won way more wages and he could have been a star player in some of those majors too. Like, remember, he would, when they would have cooked at Boston Major, he would have been one of the top players. Like, he wasn't some fucking, he's like now where he's like him and Carrigan are the boomers, like doing what they can and, helping the young guys frag. Like, he was pretty sick back in the day, Right, okay.
Yeah, he was. I'm not insane.
Have you got one then, Kassad?
Yeah, I'm going to keep and stick to FaZe.
Give it a spicy one, though. Give us the spiciest one you got.
Spiciest one? FaZe is not making the major.
Well, no, because obviously not. Obviously not, because they're going to lose in the 2-2 game to Falcons with S1MPLE, aren't they? Exactly. We're on the same page, me and you, mate.
Listen to me, Duncan. There is one little thing that you.
They're going to play NIP into fucking FaZe at the major.
They're going to lose to Rez.
There is one more little calculation.
Come on.
What calculation that you missed out? There is no 16 spots anymore, Duncan. There is 14.
Okay.
So there is 2 spots left.
Well, it's going to be really heartbreaking for whoever Falcons kick out there. I know it's really unfair.
The bottom line is FaZe not making the major is kind of a value bet if you're a betting man, right?
Okay.
It's a value bet because look at their form and results lately. And the games they played, the games they won, how they won them, and the games they lost to who they lost. Like in the Pro League, in the playoffs, they lost to Complexity. Complexity is struggling massively. Lucky for them, there is 7 spots in the NA, so they are probably good for the major.
Yeah.
But like other than that, Complexity is in a shit spot right now. They lost in the opener against Sangal team that hasn't been playing LANs very rarely. That's their first LAN, a young team that just came in and just 13-1 them, 13-2 them on Anubis. On the CT side, it was 10-2. Like, they struggle against NIP and Rez. They struggled against FlyQuest. They beat Stangal to make it to the fucking playoffs. And then they lost to Complexity. That's their, recent form. And then you have Blast, where they lost to G2. Beat your Falcons, beat Liquid and they lost to Navi, which is, I guess, a fair thing. But the overall, in the if you look at it, like I said, the gambling way, the value is for them not to qualify, and there is a decent chance for them not to qualify, even if they, let's say, will be in the first matchup, and then they ran into somebody stronger than them, like Spirit, like G2, like somebody that's in 4 that puts them into 1-1, and then there is a problem, right? Then there is that 1-1 game that can put you in 1-2 if you have a bad start, and then all of a sudden you're out. Because there is 7 spots. I don't know how the rule book goes for the Swiss system back then, but if you're 1-2, I imagine that you're going to be in a shit spot, right? So I can see a world where FaZe in a bad form right now underperforming the RMR, because we saw them, was it in Rio when they went 0-3, losing to Cloud9 and Vitality and Bad News Eagles, and they lost to Bad News Eagles once more, right?
Yep.
And then it's just we saw that happening with the same lineup. That's the same lineup. Maybe Frozen wasn't there, but basically it was the similar.
No, it was the same Twist one.
Yeah, exactly.
Plus Paris as well.
Yeah, so why couldn't that happen again? I think it can, because this RMR is going to be extremely strong. You're going to have these teams that are already strong in good form. You're going to have these sleeper teams that are coming in, like Saw. You saw, like, they show up on a fucking event, they reach the semifinals somehow, they feel it, I think FaZe was one of the teams they beat even. And it's just like, you're going to end up in a very difficult spot, especially if you are mentally not right there as a unit, as a team, because of the lack in form, lack in confidence, and like all this shit that is happening around the team. You can end up in a very bad problem if you are FaZe. And we have been counting on them like they're the top 2 team right now for too long, even though they're not. Right now, that's not them. We saw who are the best teams right now, who plays the best Counter-Strike, who has the best individuals. That's G2, that's Vitality, that's Spirit, that's, Navi. All these people are like in form. And that's like only 4 teams that I mentioned that's going to be going to the major like 100%. And then I think there is a world where they struggle completely and they flop this RMR, and that might be the trigger for like a full-on like switch or whatever, like rebuild of the FaZe squad.
It would be interesting to start theory crafting who they would replace. Maybe it's a guy that I downplayed at the heights of his career already, but we're not gonna have to worry about that. FaZe is making it. FaZe is making it through this RMR. I'm not concerned about them. Their regional standing was high enough where the seeding is going to be favorable enough for them early on in this that they're not like the top 3 seeds or anything like that. I think it's Navi, Spirit, G2, Maus are like the top 4, but FaZe is, I think, maybe 5th or 6th. And I think
but
for some reason Strauss is there.
I have to cut you off because if you have 16 teams right in one group, the seed number 1 is playing against seed number 9, and seed number 2 is playing seed number 10. Seed number 3, so it might be like a little bit, fucked for them, right? If that's the case, because I think it is.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is that looking at the bottom of these teams at the RMR for Europe, I'm just gonna say there's a steep drop off. I respect a handful of these tier 1.5, tier 2 teams. Like, obviously, we have to start giving credit to teams like Saw and even Sangol in some ways for what they've done lately. But a couple of these teams have actually kind of imploded. Like Aurora and 9Pandas, I'm just going to say right now, Result absolutely decimated both these teams. Like, so these teams are not even a concern for me anymore, because Result was like, I think that 9Pandas is going to be better. They've just been trashed since then. And also Aurora's been trashed since then. And those were kind of the scary upset teams to me before, and I just feel like they've fallen off the face of the earth. Passion UA is like a little bit scary, and then we get to the bottom couple rows, and it's like Rebels, Gamer Legion, Sashi, and TSM will not be beating FaZe under any circumstances. Neither will Dynamo or Nemiga. I'm a little bit worried about like the baits, or maybe like, yeah, sure, like Falcons gets a little bit scarier with Simple, but a couple of these teams just had these weirdly hot runs for the close qualifier, and I haven't seen any sustained success from most of them. So nah, I don't think that they're gonna. The chance that FaZe are making it through the RMR for me is like.
Many times did we see and did we say these things like you're saying right now about Circle?
And they always make it. And they always
somehow
make it.
They made an upset, right? Teams like fucking whatever. It can be Rebels, it can be Sinners, it can be Sashi, Aurora. Doesn't fucking matter who it is, right? Even NIP.
I'll bet against the Nafany-led, Hooksy-led teams of the world to not make it through the RMR. I'm not betting against a Kerrigan-led team.
That's what they call a value bet. Like, it's not. There is value to it, considering all the circumstances.
You're acting like there's implied odds for what you're saying when it's the hot take is that they are not making it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just like presenting the full picture to you. Like, why would you bet FaZe not to?
You're like betting it's like 3.85 odds or something like that. You're putting your money.
Here's my problem with that take is that it started off. Remember, Maui correctly at the end reframed it, which is what ruined the take. Because he started off like this. He goes, FaZe isn't making the major. Now, immediately, what he's just said there is a complete outlier in history. Now, true, they barely made it through that one with the last chance qualifier. They could have failed that one for Blast Paris. There's times they could have failed, but the point is they never did fail before. So you can't then appeal to history and go, and then when they made the major, they lost to Bad News Eagles. Well, what would have to do? Yeah, you're right. They could, in theory, have lost to them in the RMR, but they didn't. And so history says they make the major, but then just go badly and come last place. If you asked me, could they make the major and not make top 8 because Simple knocks them out? Yeah, of course. That's a totally sane take that anyone who knows the game, I know, or Rez just gets busy on their ass, rains them. Basically he goes head to head with Rain, and Rain goes, oh my God, it's like playing a mirror match in like fucking one of those fighting games. I can't beat you, you're me, but with better skills. So obviously that can happen. No, here's the problem. I will say, the thing that scares me about FaZe is this. That whole thing of like, oh, they only perform in the big moment when the lights are brightest and they're on the stage. Right, here's the problem. That is sort of it's not totally untrue. Like you saw from people like Team Liquid at Cologne, that does happen sometimes. That kicks in and they do have a clutch factor. But the issue is this. It isn't 2022. In 2022, they almost couldn't fail. That was back when FaZe would come like mostly like, they'd make the playoffs and lose at worst. That was a bad tournament for them most of the time. Because back then we only had, let's be real, that's why Rich used to say CS sucked. We had like 5 good teams and everyone else was just like a flawed team or a shit roster. And even some of the top teams were like a Huxley G2 or like a scuffed Vitality. They hadn't got it together again. Like some of those teams were, Na'Vi was having all the Russia-Ukraine conflict things and then they kicked out fucking Boomage and they got some, so basically that scene back then was sort of predictable and you could sort of say things like, they won't really beat us. We'll just turn it on at the end of the game. Nowadays, we're in a world, I think there's actually what changed in 2023, where all these teams that make it through the RMR, through the online qualifiers shit, that are the tier 2 grinders, the Game Allegiance, the Monties back then, the teams that are around now, because they've played a million fucking games and they've played every rando style possible on the internet, they just come in with literally sometimes like smokes that you've never seen before. Like they just have a smoke that isn't used at tier 1. And so suddenly, this never happened in the old days. Tier 2 can have an edge on you tactically, or they can have an edge. And you're not studying them. They know you. By the way, they don't even have to know you. They watch the bloody tournaments you play. They see you play. And then also, when you get... So essentially what I'm saying is group stages are way more dangerous now than they were back then. Like back then, you could sort of know... I mean, FaZe even used to do this in the group stage. When they won tournaments, they'd fuck around on the last match qualify. Mate, you do that now in MR12 with this dog shit map pool, some clown-ass team will beat you on an Ancient or an Anubis in a way that they couldn't back in the day on Overpass. You know what I mean? That Overpass win was really fucking hard to fluke, guys. Unless you were like a specialist team like Game Legion, by the way. You're not... You look at these other maps. By the way, this even ties into some of the things people don't like about CS2. In Ancient, by the way, your whole... If you play like a 13-11 game, it could literally be decided by like the clipping of a fucking smoke on a brick. That could decide whether there's what it could have a molly, could spread or not spread or not. You know what I mean? There are some insane fucking like weird things that you can't predict for at the moment. By the way, all about when we saw Rops on Anubis and Dust 2, even at the win, I've seen him fail a basic jump because the clipping on the jumps is fucked up. Suddenly that can cost you like a godlike round. That in CSGO he makes that jump every time and he gets the kill on the guy, then he moves back and does that amazing 1v3 drop shit. Even that's more sussy. And then you look at them in general in the game. They're doing this thing now that I hate, which is because in CS2 you need all this firepower. I mean, even Na'Vi showed it. We're just getting all this firepower up their players to get them close wins. You know, it's close wins. Remember, Na'Vi can have like 3 people do 1.2 rating and they win 13-11 and then in overtime. You don't dominate. There's so much fragging needed in CS2 that I think the part of FaZe that doesn't work anymore is I used to say they did it by committee, as in one game Twist pops off, then Brokey pops off, then Rops pops off. Nowadays you need like 2 or 3 all the time. You can't have like one guy do it. If like, you've seen it actually, Rops has had some games recently where for one series he carried and then the others played like shit and they lost a saw. And then Roki has a series where he's dominating, but then the others have a bad game and, you know, Frozen doesn't get in the game and baits a bit too much and then Rops has some bad calls. Mate, it's like I feel like right now FaZe is really right on the brink. It's why I actually do think in a fucked up way. This is what people don't realise. I actually go the other way to other people. Other people think, maybe after this major, Carragher will retire. No, because you're thinking like Kassad. If he fails, then he'll just go, well, time to call it quits, isn't he? Here's the joke. I think the only reason Carragher retires is if he wins the major. If he won the major, you might actually go, you know what? I actually have accomplished it all. It's all good. I've got my CS2 major too. I did it. You know what? He can't get better than this. Maybe it is time to... Spoiler, I think he's always going to become the coach. He's going to become the coach of FaZe Clan, bring in whoever he brings in to be IGL. Whereas I actually think the joke is, knowing Carragher, if he bombs this major, it's no way he's leaving on a bombed major, mate. He's coming back for next year. And he's going, you know what? I don't know how I'm going to do it, but... Right. I'm going to have to do it one more time. Thing. Yeah. So I actually I don't think it's, here's the thing. I don't think it's implausible because I wouldn't bet on it. Obviously, like you say, you're doing it for like the value end, but it is so dangerous in these tournaments now. And especially think of it. This is where we haven't seen a major yet, guys. We've only had PGL Copenhagen, right? The worst thing now about that Swiss system is those randomised draws plus the MR12 plus the ship map pool plus all these teams you don't know. Bro, it's those single lives. And remember, I think the worst feature of the RMR is when you play like those first BO1s like so quickly in succession. Oh, mate, you have a bad day, you can get clapped on those ones. And you don't have time to prep for people. You don't know whether you're playing. Oh, there's definitely way more danger than there ever was before. I know in people's brains, they look at FaZe and they go, look, a bad tournament's like 9th place. No, there's a world where they could fail to make the major. I think they'll make it, though. They'll make it. It's all good.
And that all adds to the value of my take, Maui.
Okay.
You know, the value.
I have one more.
Yeah, go on. I've got one more.
It's a callback. Okay, it's a callback. On October 28th, you guys didn't believe me, but I brought up the fact that with MR12, that the level of IGLing just does not matter for top teams.
I already know where he's going.
And now there is unequivocal proof.
That's it, isn't it?
Yep, there is unequivocal proof you do not need good IGLing to win tournaments in CS2 under MR12. Snacks is still not a great caller overall. The calling at level in CS2 does not matter nearly as much. The Kerrigans of the world, not as important, because you can just have a couple pocket strategies, you can have good fraggers, and you're just going to win tournaments. And we just saw proof right there with G2 winning the Blastfall Finals. And also, by the way, they won Dallas with Nico calling. Like, you know, they like you just don't even need good IGLs anymore.
I don't have the champagne right now to pop open, but I'm just going to use the sparkling water that I have. That's it.
Okay.
To cheer to that because I do agree with that 100 fucking percent.
Okay. I saw it coming.
Because he is right. He's right. Because of the right now the MR12. The dynamic of CS that is being played, the whole thing around it, and the meta that's Counter-Strike being played in, you don't need a Glaive style, Carrigan style IGL anymore. You simply do not. You can have the CT guy who is in the a prime spot, impact spot, a playmaker of the CT guy who can control their area or can control the CT side, and that should work just enough if you're better the drilled team. And on the T side, you start off with a plan. Every single match they have, right? You have a couple of rounds. You have the pistols, you have the anti-eco, you have the force buy in case you lose the pistol and plant the bomb. You have the eco round. You have everything that's needed set in the plan by your coach. Then you have the first gun round, second gun round, already decided pretty much on every serious team that plays Counter-Strike now. You know that you're going to go lean towards B-split, you're going to do the phase fake, you're going to do whatever the fuck you call your strats. And those are the 2 rounds. The next, you can have 3 timeouts for your coach to pitch in with 3 different rounds instead of like going on a fucking microphone and saying, you guys are doing good, keep communicating. Fuck you. That's what I say to those people who say that. So you use 3 timeouts to say, listen, guys, the mid is under pressure. We cannot hold because they're using 3 smokes in connectors. So let's fake middle and we're going to finish up with the fucking vitality on A. And that's my 30 fucking seconds right there. There is no, keep up the great energy, guys. Keep communicating. I have fucking candy and lollipops for everyone after we finish. No, fucking no. You say what you fucking want to do 3 times per game, right? So that's 3 rounds called for you, and your imaginary so-called IGL playmaker will add to it with some mid-round calls and a couple of rounds more. You finish the half, and that's it.
I mean, like, you don't think we're fucking with their brains is a good calm to make as a coach? Or the thing is also, you like Kassad, you're missing the point that like you don't even need all 3 timeouts if you just kind of accidentally point to your strat sheet over Nico's shoulder.
Yeah, you kind of trip over and just point out to that one. Yeah.
By the way, I do agree with this take, actually, because the problem is, one thing, when we disagreed with him about that, and we said, like, actually, there's less rounds, so it makes the gun rounds more important, was the angle. So actually, maybe Carragher and KD and all the rest to get increased value. The reason why that was wrong is because we couldn't know at the time that in CS2, it's just all about up-tempo T-rifle play. It's not about fucking super slow breakdowns and, like, fucking pause. Let's do an Astralis or old SK Brazilian team, like, let's hold on the map and see where they are and make a dead spot on the map and then catch someone. No one does that anymore. Nowadays, you just bang into the sites. You brute force it if you need to. You use those fucking smokes. You gamble that you get onto the site. Once you get onto the site, like the AWPs, by the way, aren't as dangerous on the retakes anymore. Like, I think actually the game is way more about like aggro fast play. It's why, in my opinion, I can't believe all those Vitality fans hate on Apex. He is not an all-time great leader. He probably never will be. But he is actually very well suited for how T-side works in CS2, in my opinion. Like, I think he calls some very good games on a whole bunch of the maps. Like, that's the other problem if you don't think he's a good player. It's not just Zebu, you idiots. Look how many maps Vitality is good on. They're good on nearly all the maps. It's actually crazy. People tried picking like Vertigo into them as a punish. Didn't work. People thought, oh, Anubis. They were the first people to become the masters of Anubis. They're still really good on, probably the best team on it right now. You look on a Dust 2, they're fucking great on that. They're good on everything. They're fucking sick on Mirage. They've got everything. So that means he has to be doing a good job. But I don't think he's doing. Here's the difference. If you did a voice comms release of Alexi B, Carrigan, and fucking Apex, Apex's is going to just be simple shit of sort of like go now, basically, or like I need you to follow up quickly. It's going to be like simple calls, like in my opinion, like not poggish, but like it's not going to be something deep. He's never going to be doing like a right stop. What are you doing? He's never going to be some big breakdown like that. So I do think actually the game shows that, because if you look at the top teams that are winning, aside from Alexi B, and I think most of us give him and Blade the credit because we look at their players. I'm sorry, no matter how good Bit, Immer, and Wonderful are, they aren't Monacy, Duncan, Nico. You know what I mean? Like they aren't those players. Those are the players, by the way, they're beating with these motherfucking players. And so I think if you look at it, aside from Alexi B, what great IGL's having an awesome time right now. Even Shuhei, who everyone was ready to crown as the next great IGL, you know what? You have a look at his lineup and you actually go, bro, how are you not winning more tournaments? You're supposed to win everything with this lineup. It's already mega. So I think it's sort of right. I actually think that style of IGL just isn't the thing anymore. At the moment.
There's one more thing. Like players are much smarter right now than they were before. They don't.
I mean, counterpoint GL is at the top of the game right now. So counterpoint.
No, they're smarter in game.
I guess he's the okay. All right, fair enough. Yeah, he's the outlier.
Smarter in game.
The exception that proves the rule.
Smarter in game.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, I'll give you an example. Like you have the A anchor on Mirage, right? The round starts. There is not going to be like, let's say you see that the top pit smoke, window smoke, molly, and 2 flashes. And the guy in connector will recognize, the guy on A will say, like, listen, it's light middle. Come, don't defend connector. Come with me. Defend A with me. Smoke ballast for me. And let's defend the A for the next 20 seconds. Op can stay and he can control. The short guy, he can control. If they pop A, then we will be 2 there and we're going to kill 3 or 4 of them. If there is nothing happening, if they fake it a little bit better, the A ramp guy will just block it off, stand in front of the smoke because he cannot go back because he's stuck there. And then if you're forced to go to the smoke, you die. He kills 2 people if he's a good player. And then you retake 4v3. Success rate is pretty high. So players are smart. Like they know right now. They're not stuck on ticket, jumping left and right and spotting people. They will react to what's going on middle. They will react on what's going on in underpass. They will see like what's being thrown and react to that. Like not many players used to do it before because they were limited. Now there are tools that they can use. The software, there's YouTube, there is fucking demo reviews, there is fucking God knows. You have assistant coaches, analysts, like shit that you didn't have before to improve your anchors game, your connector players game. And now it's up to them if they want to accept that or not and then learn that. Depends how good are you. Are you fucking Nico in connector or Res? That's the fucking bottom line, right? Are you an anchor that's Bit or fucking whoever you think is good? But the thing is, like, you have these players that are smarter right now, and they're making decisions by themselves. They don't need to be micromanaged by a Carrigan, Glaive, or who else, right? So need for that type of IGL has decreased by a lot from different reasons. Yeah, so I do agree. Cheers.
Okay. Right, the last take. I'll do the last take and then we'll wrap.
All right.
So the last take I'm going to do, and I think this is a true hot take. I think actually this angle is going to surprise people because I'll just say I've heard some things behind the scenes that make me think this could be true. Ooh. So, right now, one of the players everyone loves to bang on is stavn from Astralis. Because first of all, we all know he has had like a choke factor. He's one of the worst players for the choke factor. Him and Exertion, I think, at the moment, are the two that have got to get over it. Like, if they do, they could both be much better players. Also, you look where he was rated in all these past years on HLTV. Bro, this guy was like cracking top 10. He was in really fucking high positions. He was essentially getting treated like he's in the same airs as like a Nico, the fucking best player. By the way, s1mple was rated like fucking, wasn't he like 7th or 8th last year? Yeah, like 7th, he was in the same air as s1mple and Nico, bro. What? So this guy's getting treated like, wow, one of the like best players. Here's the problem I think stavn has. He has two angles, aside from the whole drama element that has also made people hate on him. One of his problems is this, and this was shown recently when people put out those stats about the headshot percentage versus like how many attempts he takes. stavn's never been a headshot player, if people don't know. He's not, there's nothing crazy about his aim at all. I actually think his aim is very normal. I actually think it's like just above average pro player aim, but it's not elite aim. By the way, the joke is Malps has way better aim than this guy. But to me, that's what this leads to. And then the problem is, so think about that. He doesn't have crazy aim, so why would you hype him? The eye test doesn't say he's bonkers, right? Then you consider he had all of his best results. I mean, these Astralis teams were making the odd playoffs, but aside from that one Chengdu where they almost beat FaZe, that's it. They were never going to win the event. They never came close to a final. They would just generally make the playoffs and lose immediately. They had like 3.5 maps they were good on. I made that joke ages ago before the pats came out. Then you also, so if you consider, I think a lot of people think, not really that insane a player, like spoiler, people like kassad will clear this motherfucker in the eye test easy. Or even that boy Insaney that I was telling you about, he has bonkers fucking aim. Then you look and they think, well, because of it was in heroic, he had all the success. He was obviously just Cadian's puppet, wasn't he? So he's not smart about the game either. He needed someone to put his hand up the arse and go, hi, I'm stavn and I'm going in the site now. I actually think he is a way smarter player. I think it's the opposite. This all infers to me he's actually a way smarter player than people realise. And here's how I'll break it down. One, that's how he got those kills. He's a guy who like gets the right angle, plays at his own pace, takes the fights that he wants to take. That's what he was really good at in heroic, and he was even pretty good when they were doing good fragging in Astralis before they got to the big match. Then, even though people think, well, it's all Cadian, based on the things I heard about Cadian in Team Liquid, Cadian got there and made the initial calls and made the rotation calls. And essentially, if you ever questioned him, the round was broken. If it ever got past the first part of the round and he didn't just frag people, the round was broken and you're dead. He didn't actually have these clauses that people think he did. Because remember, Cadian used to also close by AWPing himself in the clutch. He couldn't do that in CS2. So I also think, I don't believe Device was one of the best IGL'S in the world. I think in both teams, I think in heroic and in Astralis, stavn made secondary calls. I think actually he made good. Look, he might have done it, maybe Nequest, like around how he wants to play it, where he wants to be in the round. But I think it worked. I think that was one of the things that worked for him. And so I actually think I think he's a way smarter player than people realise, and he's underrated in that sense. And then I'll also just add in, if you look in his teams, obviously it all is also the case that he always looks his best when he has the space creators. When he has those space creators, then suddenly he thrives. He gets it all. So I think even though people are billing him like he's just an idiot, it was just Cadian. He needed Cadian, but I don't think he did. Look, he needed a better player. He needed a better team than Astralis. But I actually think this player, that implies to me there's actually like an intelligence there or an intuitive feel for the game, basically. Because I don't think he's some crazy natural talent. I think he's a good above average player. But the difference is he didn't end up like a Rez. He actually made it to that higher level and he's got the skills. So there you go, whatever. It's just a shot on the last one. Go on then, boys. What do you think? stavn way smarter than people think.
I think stavn is
in-game only. In-game only, obviously.
Smarter than Rez, that's for sure. But the thing is, the thing is, like, I think he's a thinker. Like, he's not a robot. I think that's what makes his game elevates his game quite higher than than it would be if he didn't do that. I think he thinks a lot of what is happening on his side of the map and how he should control these things. The example for people to understand is like, let's say, Banana Inferno. He's a banana player, right? And then I think that he understands and he tries to follow the current meta of the CTs on Banana on Inferno. They're throwing the close molly, the deep smoke. What's going to be the best play and what timing? I need the flash from the guy who supports Banana for me to get control of top Banana car or kill the guy who is in sandbags or whatever. So he says like, listen, I need this smoke, that smoke, and I need this flash and this flash at that timing, and I'm going to get you Banana. And that's why he's useful to the team. Yes, he's not crisp as Malbs, with his aim. He's not bad, but he's not Malbs, he's not all these players, right? But he's not bad at all. The thing is like that makes him good are those things. Now I don't know how many secondary calls he makes, but he does seem to look like a guy who is actually thinking about his area of the map. Like he cannot tell you what to do fucking in apartments, but if he was like playing apartments instead of Banana, he would understand like when he needs to molly, what angles he needs to take against aggressive setups, where to spam, when to spam, what smoke to use. He will count the smokes. He will notice if the guys are using the smokes deep, or he's saving it for back pit, or he's smoking the balcony. He's going to do the research, do the work, and that's what's making him good. And that's pretty much the recipe for any player out there with any kind of talent to use that talent to kind of become a better player than he is right now in any team. Doesn't matter it's tier 3, tier 2, tier 3, or tier 4, right? Because stavn he wasn't born in heroic. He went to his Danish teams and all this shit, and then with his work and that whatever it is in game, obviously he became better and better and better, and people labeled him as this joker, but I think also that he's quite smart individual when it comes to in-game stuff and his control of his area of the map. Now, the fucking Cadian drama and all this shit, that's a different aspect. Outside of the game intelligence, I don't know about that. Like I spoke to him about different stuff like sports and stuff. Never really got into that, that thing with Cadian, but one day maybe we'll get to
Here's the thing. I'll give you a quick analogy, right, for how the difference between in-game intelligence and out of the game. Because in-game's a lot of intuitive feel, basically. It's like instinct and what you do and things like coming up with like an instant plan and following it. If you don't know, by the way, a lot of the players who choke and aren't clutch, it's because they overthink. They try and think the perfect situation. Is that right, though? Or should I do this? Or should I go back? The guys who just go, I'm just going to do this, go forward. That works. You can press W, you can hold a spot, whatever. My joke is this, right? You know the concept, Kassad, you'll understand this. You're an older guy. You know how when you're really young, you get those stupid kids who are like at college, university, and they go drinking for the first time, heavy drinking, and they go, I don't get hangovers, me. And you go, yet. You go, your liver's fresh, you idiot. Your liver and kidneys are just clean. They take that alcohol, that poison, and they just go, I haven't seen this before, but you know what? I can work on this. Full steam ahead. It's like Scotty in fucking Star Trek. Like, divert the dilithium crystals into the shield base from the thrusters, and then it does that, and it just cleans it all out, and you go, feel fine. But literally, a few years into that type of partying, you go, oh, does anyone have like an electrolyte drink or some water, please? I need to eat some pizza and lie in bed for half a day. And what happens eventually is that just doesn't work anymore. So here's the problem a lot of people have in like clutch round scenarios is they're doing the Blade strat book. They're watching demos like Stiko and Elige. They're analysing the game. They're thinking all the time. They're playing FPL trying to make calls. 2 house, 1 behind. I'm coming underneath now. Tell me what timing and I'll join you on the clock. They're using their brain so much that their brain's worn out. It's just desperate for a rest. Please, you give me too much thought. People like JL, they don't ever use their brain. So when they finally turn their brain on, turn the key in a clutch, it's fresh. It's never been used. All the pathways are clean. There's not even any connections and all the things he's remembering. It's just straight from point A to point B, and it's just he can just figure out in that moment only. He diverts all of his brain power. He's probably going to die when he's 45. That's a joke because he's just put all of his life force in that moment. He diverted it. He probably, I bet when he's playing in those clutches, he probably doesn't even breathe, but it probably can't. He turns the lungs off, dietary system all goes off, And listen, he's got a massive head. There's all blood flow up there. Don't worry about that. It's just feeding the brain, feeding the mega mind, feeding Johnny Neutron's head. It just does that. And then he wins the clutch against everyone. And then afterwards he goes, turn it off again. So just going, so that's how that works. Okay, so
isn't that gonna make him live for 100 years?
Actually, right. I've got it the wrong way around, haven't I?
You don't spend your energy or like anything that you just turn it off and you just turn it on in this like one clutch situations with 11-11 on these important maps, and then just leave it. Like leave the tank like fully. That it's gonna last for like 100 years.
It'll probably be
maybe
the
that's the play. Maybe we are all stupid.
He'll probably just outlive us all. It's true.
Yeah. I think with just in general, getting back to the stavn.
Right, you thought the JL thing. Okay,
not the psychoanalysis of JL, right?
It's the way people thought that was going to be like a real point as well. It was nothing there. It was just nonsense. It's all good.
It's worth noting that stavn. I mean, he has to be a cerebral player. I mean, he played with 2 older brothers that were playing competitive Counter-Strike also. Sure. Rest in peace to the oldest one. I think it was Life Dance, and then he also played with Dragonfly for a lot of his early career on Fragsters, and there's no doubt. I mean, his oldest brother, was coaching him at one point. Like they were all feeding in to make sure that he's getting the best possible in terms of, I guess, lineage of just knowledge that they're just all passing down to him, and now he's kind of the finished product in that capacity. So. No, he's definitely a cerebral player. Like he's not even for a second when watching stavn are you like, wow, this guy is super mechanically talented. Like, sure, like at this point, like every player that's in the top 20 will have some sort of highlight rounds that are impressive, but much more often am I finding that the stavn rounds are just like he gets 2 kills because he gets one good early kill based off of a setup, and then he gets a late round, maybe he gets a 1v2 or just a 1v1 because he's in the right position, trading off of his teammate, playing well. It's very rarely like. I honestly can't even remember for the last 3 years what stavn's best highlight is. Like that's how rare it is.
It was one time he got that knife in the back of Cadian.
Yeah, exactly. It's been off the server things like, dare I say, Swishers involved.
Yeah, exactly. Tell you what.
Yeah, no,
here's the thing. He even gets brains. He even gets brain.